Welcome to SVG-TV's news for Thursday, July 6, 2023. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. 90 schools have been identified in a preliminary report for repair work under the school's repair program for the summer period. This was noted by Acting Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport and Works, Montgomery Daniel, who on NBC Radio's face-to-face program yesterday said the repair work is expected to total $6.4 million EC dollars.
The preliminary assessment at the moment, and so the final assessment, I'm sure, will be very much pretty close to this number. But one would have to give and take. But when you have the final assessment done, which, of course, it's going to be by the end of this week, because we really want to get work starting hopefully next week. But one understands too that next week continues in the glorious celebration of the Carnival season. And so we are mindful of that. But we are targeting to get the work going by next week. And so Cabinet will be briefed on the preliminary work to be done, and the final approval will have to be done no later than next week on the work on the schools and the cost identified for the repairs of all of the 90 schools here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
In terms of the road repairs program, Minister Daniel said the Ministry of Transport and Works has a number of projects underway.
We have works under the NDM projects, National Disaster Management Project, and this is a project that has been run by Cecil Harris. It's the one that is involved with a lot of the Caribbean Development Bank funding, and it was brought to my attention that some 8 contracts would have been allocated. So 8 different contractors under this program. Of course, I can indicate to you that under these projects, the rehabilitation and reconstruction of the God Save the Queen Bridge, that contract would have been awarded to Obisado Engineering Services Limited at a cost of some $7.1 million EC dollars. The disaster risk management and climate change adaptation reconstruction of the Union River Bridge, so that is being awarded to the contractor Franco Construction and Sea Operations, who they are in a joint venture operation, of course. And that contract has been awarded to Franco, of course, at a cost of $4.8 million EC dollars. The disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation project at the Perseverance Road Rehabilitation, that project, the contractor there is K Electric at a cost of some $6.8 million. And again, under the disaster risk and climate change adaptation project, where the construction of the Dixon Bridge will be done, the contractor there is Hutchinson Construction Company, and that will be done at a cost of $2.2 million. Again, under the disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation project program, the reconstruction of the Chapman Bridge, that will be done at a cost of some $3.4 million.
Minister Daniel said they expect that by the end of July, early August, work will commence on the projects which contractors have been identified. Government is looking for new lands or extension of lands where some cemeteries across the country are being challenged at the moment. This is according to Prime Minister and Acting Prime Minister and Minister of Transport and Works, Montgomery Daniel, who on NBC Radio's face-to-face program on a Wednesday.
And the chief surveyor has been given the mandate to try and locate new lands or even extension of lands to where these cemeteries are. You have some 11 areas that would have been identified. Darkview and Rosebank, Rose Hall, Belmont, Richland Park, Greggs, Port Elizabeth Beckway, Glebe Hill Barley, Clifton Union Island, Lomans Leeward, Golden Vale, and Georgetown. These are areas where the cemeteries are being challenged at this time, where the space is getting smaller and smaller. And so the chief surveyor has been given the task of finding new land,
right,
to which we can expand these cemeteries. You know, it's not an easy thing. It's the culture here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines that when our loved ones pass away, there must be land to which we have to lay the body of our loved one. And so, task is not an easy one, but of course we will pursue in the Ministry of Transport and Work to find new land for the replacement of the cemeteries, as I mentioned.
In reference to the houses which were damaged during the passage of Tropical Storm Brett on the northeastern coast, Minister Daniel said Cabinet has taken the decision to relocate and rebuild 3 of the houses along the coastline in the area, while others will be repaired. With the export of approximately $3 million worth of dasheen annually over the last 10 years, Minister of Agriculture Suboto Caesar says the idea and vision is to establish a $30 million dasheen sector here in SVG by 2030 through increased production. Minister Caesar was at the time addressing the opening of a 3-day dasheen validation upgraded strategy workshop at the Methodist Church Hall, which was attended by farmers across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, along with senior technical staff of the Ministry of Agriculture.
So we decided that we needed a project whereby we'll not only be looking at St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a production platform for dasheen, but we wanted dasheen to be brought together from Dominica, from Grenada, from St. Lucia, and from St. Vincent and the Grenadines to create a dasheen sector for the Windward Islands, so that when we go to the market and we say to the market that we can export to you a 40-foot container of dasheen every week, it doesn't mean that the 40-foot container will be coming from St. Vincent and the Grenadines alone. It could be coming consolidated from the 4 islands, or it could be coming 1 container this week from St. Vincent, the next week from Dominica, the other week from Grenada, and the other week from St. Lucia. So I want for all of us to have an appreciation as to how we got here and what we are trying to do and how we are going to do it. Yesterday I was presented with the export figures. And on average, over the last 10 years, we are exporting approximately $3 million worth of dasheen annually. The idea, the vision, and the foresight is to establish a $30 million dasheen sector by 2030. So we have an analysis of to where we are now. On average, for the last 10 years, we are doing $3 million from St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The aim of the workshop was to provide farmers with a roadmap to achieve viable business models in exploring new markets for dasheen production. In presenting a historical context of trading practices, Minister Caesar explained the vision and power of consolidating agricultural production among Caribbean islands to maximize economies of scale, particularly within the emergence of the dasheen sector.
And we started off with the labor support. We went into that agri-ecological zone, which spans from the Mariaqua Valley, goes over into the Massareca Valley, all the way up to Congo Valley, including the Connery Woods Basin, because we recognize that even in a period of a harsh dry spell, we could plant dasheen in these areas. I don't have to stand here to tell you what is taking place in the Mariaqua Valley in Mesopotamia. I just spoke to a farmer this morning, and he said to me, he has 4 acres of dasheen. Another farmer said to me, he has 13 acres of land, and he will be expanding his production. A lady who was there in the conversation said to me, she has 1 acre, and she also is expanding. Right there at one table, you have a potential to have close to 20 acres. What is happening in our country today? Unfolding before our very eyes. We have turned a leaf from where we were of the view that after the banana industry, there's a need for another crop to emerge.
The Agriculture Minister added that idle lands within the agri-ecological zone must be turned into an area focused on the production of dasheen, tanya, and eddos with high concentration on dasheen. He said assistance will be provided to local agriculture farmers through inputs and labor support.
We must turn all of the idle lands within that agri-ecological zone that I just described between the Mariaqua Valley all the way up to Congo Valley into an area whereby we'll be focusing on dasheen, tanya, and eddos production, but primarily dasheen production. Assistance will be provided to the dasheen farmers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines with inputs. Assistance with the labor support will continue. The $27 million program from the World Bank would bring assistance to the dasheen farmers. And importantly, from the marketing standpoint, because I am of the firm view, we don't have a problem. The problem is not the planting of the dasheen. The problem is not the encouragement to plant more dasheen. The problem is when we plant the dasheen, would we be able to get a good price consistently? Would there be an excellent market? And I am happy to announce today that we have 3 new players in the market that will be exporting extra regionally. And before the end of this month, we will be reducing the discussions that we are having to an MOU and also to a legal contract.
Investigators stationed at the Georgetown Police Station have made a breakthrough in the fatal shooting of 46-year-old Mikhail Miller of Stubbs. On Monday, July 3, 2023, the deceased was shot multiple times about his body at Crab Island, Langley Park. Today, Thursday, July 6, 2023, the police arrested and jointly charged Xavier Crook of Cartel and Tally Jackson of Langley Park with Miller's murder. Both men will be arraigned at the Serious Offences Court tomorrow, Friday, July 7th. The Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has issued a wanted persons bulletin for Jakeem Jarrell Wilson of Clifton, Union Island. The bulletin reads, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force is carrying out an investigation into a report of wounding where the subject is a person of interest. If you have any information, you are asked to contact the Union Island Police Station or any police station. The police say all information would be treated confidentially. 4 members of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force are celebrating 35 years of service in the organization. The officers are Assistant Superintendent of Police Nigel Butcher, Station Sergeant Gregory Williams, Sergeant 533 Rodney Swift, Sergeant 169 Erickson Brown. The 4 officers were among 29 men and women who were enlisted into the constabulary on Thursday, July 7, 1988. Reflecting on their accomplishments, the veteran officers highlighted that despite the challenges of the job, they remained resilient and dedicated over the years. They added that their enthusiasm and dedication to duty have given them the desire to continue to serve the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for many more years to come. ASP Butcher noted that although the occasion calls for celebration, it also invokes a sense of sadness as they remember their late course mates, Constables Elson Richards, Celius Brown, Alpha Jacks Dixon, and Elmond Butte, who dedicated their lives to serving the country. Commissioner of Police Colin John and other ranks of the RSVG Police Force congratulated the officers on their accomplishments and service to SVG. Recently, the Bank of SVG notified customers of a scam alert and the importance for them to protect their personal and banking information. The RSVG Police Force is also encouraging residents and visitors to do the same. In a recent interview with the SVG-TV News, head of the IT department of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, Sergeant Sion Shoy, said though the Bank of SVG did not report any incident to the police, it is important for persons to be careful with transactions, particularly during this busy carnival season.
Any report that comes to the police will be investigated, if it's even privately scam, and IT department is the one responsible for investigating the cyber offenses or anything digitally. So on that broadcast from Bank of SVG that we are aware of, and I will advise person to be allowed, check the privacy settings that is authentic, that knows if it comes from Bank of SVG. Make sure you see a secure site, because these days persons replicating sites and it look like Bank of SVG, or they might call you to ask for information.
Sergeant Choi also advises revelers to safeguard their banking documents such as debit cards when out to various carnival events. Homes from fire and other hazards during the carnival season. In an interview with SVG-TV News at the recently held Police Crime Prevention Exhibition, Corporal Peters gave advice on fireproofing households before venturing out.
Department is a vibrant department, and we cater and we handle most of the fire through St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have fire station at the airports in the Grenadines and on mainland, and we're responsible for the structural fire, the vehicle fire, and the bush fire. First of all, it's not wise to leave children at home by themselves. They should be supervised with an adult, a responsible adult. And in the process of leaving them at home, put away all matches in a safe area where the children or child cannot reach it to cause fire or create fire hazard in the home. And electrical outlets, secure them properly, because children have a tendency of putting objects within these outlets, which can also lead to fire as well.
Corporal Peters said that the property owners should also consider purchasing a fire extinguisher in the event of a fire.
If you're expecting a small fire, you buy an extinguisher that will be able to contain or extinguish that fire. And if you have like kitchen, a large kitchen area where you're doing business, or let's say deep frying and stuff, there are different classes of extinguishers for different classes of fire. For example, the general fire, like Class A fire, you use a Class A extinguisher that caters for wood, paper, and those light materials. But Class K fire, which caters for oil, kitchen oils and fat, use a Class K extinguisher. So it all depends on whatever you are catering for.
While members of Blondie Bird and Friends Mass Band are very happy with the Junior Band of the Year win, they have their eyes set on bigger title, that is the Band of the Year. Deputy Band Leader Gosh Niles told SVG-TV News that winning the 5 first places in the Junior Band of the Year competition held last Saturday, July 1st, is nothing new to the Mass Band, noting that this year has been very fruitful, especially with the sales of their costumes.
Them feeling about we winning is natural feelings, you know, because them thing comes so natural to us now that, I mean, it's in because in 2013, 2012, sorry, we're the only band in St. Vincent could boast that we won every single category in Mass. So them thing ain't really nothing new. It's just that this year we plan to really clean up everything, but through certain circumstances, it ain't going to manifest. It's been going smoothly for us. Sales has been really good this year, thanks to the public, thanks to our sponsors, you know. For Carnival Tuesday we get in here, we just find tweaking some stuff. We almost finished our building of our band. So as we sit here now, we just kind of fine tuning and we start distributing our costumes and them. So that is what we're doing right now. Yeah, well, we're presenting Birds of a Feather. Provincial Mass 2023. We have 8 sections. We cut back from our usual 10 sections because we were now coming out of COVID, so we didn't really know how the public would have reacted in terms of registration. So we kind of scale back 2 sections. But we have 8 sections. We have 2 kids sections. That one, the children's carnival on Saturday. We have 2 all adults, all inclusive sections, and then we have 4 regular sections. So we have limited space left. Persons could come and just fill them. We have about 12 to 14 masks left for sale. Today's Wednesday, and we're hoping by Friday they would be all gone.
Now said, though the Mass Band is hoping to win the 2023 Band of the Year competition, they have opted out of the King and Queens of the Band competition because of limited space to build these costumes.
We have lack of space of building our King and Queen, which everybody been looking forward to. I mean, anybody who pass into the Mass stand to register and to see, and we tell them we're not doing any King and Queen on Sunday night, they're very disappointed. I mean, we ourselves are very disappointed because we know that the whole of St. Vincent, the diaspora, is looking out for Blondie Bird and Friends. So, lack of 10 space. Yeah, and I throwing it out to the government and take one time. I mean, very few Mass Band, we're struggling in St. Vincent as it is, but we can't find space for us to build Mass. We can't afford to build a building. So the government have to help us. And the help has to happen as soon as Carnival done. I mean, the Prime Minister promised us piece of land on Sign Hill. As soon as Carnival done, I hope we jump on that and get it done, because if by January next year, February next year, you ain't going to have no Mass Band bringing Mass in St. Vincent. Because the 3 bands there, we have to move out by the end of July. SVG players are move out up the U, it's supposed to be building a lab up by them. Nelson Black down on the port where they building the modern port, they are moved. You understand? So it is a very serious topic that needs to be addressed. And it has to be addressed as soon as Carnival is finished.
Niles outlined other challenges that the Mass Band has faced this year executing its presentation, Birds of a Feather.
Mostly material. We don't have Carnival material readily available in St. Vincent. So most of the times we have to send to Trinidad, to Miami, to New York, because one of our headpieces I'm trying to finish up. One of the headpieces they were trying to finish. The feathers for the headpieces actually stuck in New York. We went to FedEx this morning to try and get it in, but I don't think we'll be getting it in to FedEx. So we are hoping some good Samaritan who's coming home would try and bring it down for us. So anybody watching this interview, we have some feathers in New York we like to get come home by standard shippers there in New York. Yeah, trying to get them done before weekend.
Alright.